Welcome to episode number 31 of Life Without Cravings. So today I have a goodie for you. I'm interviewing Claire Cieslar from Beyond the Scale. Claire is an amazing woman. She is recovering from severe anorexia. In 2017, she died for 6 minutes, and her restricted eating made her go blind and end up in a wheelchair. And today she's back working as an engineer, and she is eating a lot of food to put the weight back on. So without further ado, here's my interview with Claire. Okay. Hi, Claire. I wanted to ask you first. You're coming from an eating disorder background, which is a little bit unusual on this channel, but I think it's a really important topic, and there might be people who need to hear this. So I'm just wondering if you want to kind of talk us through, like, how did all of this, starting with the eating disorder, and how did it develop for you?
Okay, this started really early in my life. I used to be a very picky eater, and I started doing a lot of sport when I was really young. I was really energetic, and I started practicing a lot of sport, and one of them was ballet dancing. And being in the ballet dancing, I was always judged with my physique. I was a very tiny girl, very, very tiny, and I was really skinny, but most of the time I was the fattiest of the room, even if I was really, really skinny. And this started to have an impact in my mental health. And when I became a teenager, and when I got 16, I had a big trauma in my life, and the response I found at this time was starting to restrict. And I was not really able to restrict for long, but it started like this. And sometimes you're not lucky in life, and I had two very big other traumas at 21 and 22. And then I jumped into full restriction and over exercises. Then I was a little bit desperate, and I met my ex-husband, and he was really judgmental on my physique. He was telling me that I was a little bit chubby, even if I was really, really skinny. He was saying, "Oh yeah, but your hips are a little bit too soft, and you could be more muscular, and you could go on the treadmill." And he bought from you not a treadmill, an elliptical bike, and he put me on it like an hour a day, every single day, with the resistance at the maximum level. And I started losing weight a lot. And I was feeling proud because I was losing weight. And it kept going, and I was struggling really with my mental health. I was really depressed. I was full of anxiety. And then I decided I wanted a baby, and I couldn't have any baby because I was too skinny. And at this time, I was living abroad, and I had access to IVF and really high hormonal treatment. And I could get pregnant even if I was not healthy. And then I had the pregnancy. My pregnancy was a nightmare. It didn't help with my mental health. And when my boy was born, he was allergic to dairy. And so the medical team asked me to stop dairy to avoid to have dairy inside my breast milk. And so I stopped dairy, and I got into veganism. It was not really it was not like an ideal choice. It was just because I was sick, and I was already anorexic, and removing the animal food from my diet brought me even deeper into anorexia. And deeper I was in anorexia, less I was eating, and more food I was avoiding, and it was like the very, very terrible cycle. So I will say that it took me. I always had this background, this eating disorder background, And life helped me to fall very deep inside it.
Well, so I have two questions here. Why do you think that you were going to restriction? Because most people will probably go to something else. So why did your brain go to like, oh, I need to restrict because there's some trauma in your life?
I think it was it was as a reference when I was a kid that to be better, I was supposed to be thinner. So I wanted to go on this way, and I've been always someone that wanted to reach perfection, and perfection was my issue. And yeah, like to reach this perfection, the perfect body is the thin body, and so if you want to be perfect on what you're doing, and if you want to be thinner, be perfect at being thinner and faster. And so just don't eat and don't eat anything, and never fall off the wagon. You know, you have some people that have a restrictivity disorder, and then they have binge episodes, and then they're purged or things like this. I never purged. I never allowed myself to lose the control. Being restrictive is not losing control. Never. I never lose the control. Never.
And you mentioned another thing with the getting IVF, and I'm just a little bit curious because I know that if you weigh too much, they won't give it to you. But do they not have any restriction on giving skinny people IVF? Like, if the body isn't supposed to be carrying a child, why do they help the body actually do that?
Okay, in France, it would have been impossible. I was too skinny for this. Right. I was not allowed to have IVF. But at this time, I was living in the UAE. And in France, you know, the IVF is covered by your insurance. But in the UAE, it doesn't matter. You just have to have the money and to pay. And whatever your weight is, you can do it. So I was that desperate to have a kid that I didn't care. And I paid a couple of times because I failed a couple of times. But anyway, if you pay, you can you can go through IVF.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So what's one of the craziest things that you have done that you thought was normal at the time?
The craziest things I've done, you cannot imagine how many craziest things I've done.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. For example, to be able to restrict, you want to restrict the calories. And I was counting every single calorie. And I was counting the calories in the diet soda. So like the diet Coke, I was drinking sometimes like 6 to 8 liters a day, just because I just needed to fill myself with something. I needed the sweets. So, and I was counting all these calories, and I was scared about the calories from the diet soda, you know. And to be able to have the sweet taste in the mouth, I was eating sweeteners, but like this, you know, like chips. Yeah, this is totally disgusting. But at the worst point, I was eating sometimes 300 a day. Just 300 sweeteners a day. So it gives you diarrhea. Sure.
Yes.
A lot.
I can imagine. I mean, that must have hurt your tummy so much.
I was not eating anything, you know, so I was having diarrhea of liquid because I was just passing the fluids I was drinking. But yeah, I made really, really crazy stuff. To be able to feel full, I was eating only 1 kilo of lettuce a day. It was my only food in a day, with stevia on it, of course, because or spices, just to give some taste or something, for 6 months.
And didn't it ever occur to you, like, this is not how I should be living my life? This is not normal? Or did it seem normal?
You know, it was, I went from one point where I was a brilliant engineer working abroad, expatriate, a very good position, everything. And 5 days later, I was not able to work. I was sitting on a wheelchair, not eating anything, starving, and I was not realizing it at all. And I was even really, really convinced that I was controlling my life.
Mm.
I was really depressed. I was not seeing anyone, but yeah, it was my life, and yeah, when I remember this time, my brain was not working at all.
Yeah.
I was not realizing anything, and no, I knew inside that I was having this anorexic behavior, and I didn't want to put a name on it. I was totally in the deny.
Yeah.
I was totally. So when people were asking me why I was losing weight, I found so many huge excuses to lose that much weight. And yeah, I was denying what was happening, and I didn't want to take the chance to heal.
So when people were asking you, didn't you I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say obviously, but you probably made up some lies about why you were losing weight. Why did you feel like you had to do that?
Because I was scared about being judged. I knew that inside of me, I knew that I was suffering from a mental health issue, and I was really, it was like ashamed about being mentally ill. And I had a lot of people around me. One remark was really painful, and it was, okay, you're not really ill, you're not really sick, you don't have cancer.
Right.
And it was true. I didn't have cancer, but suffering of eating disorder is an illness, and there is not a worse or best illness to have. When you're suffering, you're suffering.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned that you ended up in a wheelchair. So can you talk us through the worst, where did you go from here, and when did you reach your lowest point, and what happened then?
So not moving around, being stuck in my house, not doing anything, and not eating. I lost all my muscles. So at one point, I couldn't walk more than 5 meters. So that's why they put me on the wheelchair. At some point, they tried to put a feeding tube in my nose to feed me, to give me some strength. And I was not accepting the treatment, so I was not doing it properly. I was cheating with it. And because I was so unnourished and I was losing weight, I lost the fat of my optical nerve. And so I became blind for a month.
Wow.
So yeah, that was me, in 2016, 2017.
It's crazy. Okay. And you told me as well that in 2017 you died for 6 minutes. What actually happened?
Something totally stupid. I just got a flu. I was really nourished. I got a flu, and my body was not able to react to the flu because I didn't have any strength. And at this time, my body temperature was really low. I don't know the body temperature in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, you're healthy when your body temperature is around 37 degrees. And mine was 34 degrees. And so having the flu, I was not able to have a fever to react, and I was not able to fight. And no one was able to notice that I had the flu, and the flu became a pneumonia, and I died from the pneumonia in 2017. And they resuscitate me. And then I was hospitalized in intensive care for weeks and weeks because I was too weak.
Wow, that's crazy. And I mean, you say 6 minutes. Was it your heart that stopped?
Yeah, my heart stopped 6 minutes. And I'm so lucky because I didn't have any brain damage.
Yeah, because that's a long time.
That's a long time. But I drove to the hospital. And when I arrived at the hospital, I just fainted at the entrance, and
Right.
they picked me here.
That's so lucky.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, just because I'm curious, did you have a near-death experience? Like, do you remember anything from those 6 minutes?
Yeah. This is a very strange story, but my grandfather died at the same time.
You what?
Exactly.
Sorry?
My grandfather died
Oh,
the same time, the same day. And at this, the exact same moment. And I just have like the vision in my head and the souvenir of having seen my grandfather at this time. And when I woke up and I could have my stuff back, I realized that I have a voice message from my mom saying that my grandfather was dead.
wow.
But I knew it already. And so, yeah, I had something strange happening.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so what was the tipping point for you? Like, when did you decide to get well again? Because I believe that, as you say, it is a mental illness, and at some point, for anyone to recover from this, they need to make that decision themselves. It can't be forced on them. So what happened that actually made you make that decision?
Okay. When I died in 2017, I was not ready to die. And in the past, because I was so depressed, I was thinking that I will choose the time I will die. And I was so sure that with the anorexic behavior, I was controlling my life. I was sure that I will control the time I will die.
Mm.
And I realized that I was not controlling this. And I didn't want to die. And this was really, really scary. When I went back to life, and I realized that I could have died, I was really, really like scared of dying, and I wanted to recover. At this time, I really wanted to recover. And it didn't last for long, you know. The desire of living and the desire of being healthy lasts for a couple of hours. But during this time, this little hours, I just called my mom, and I just say to her, I am anorexic. I might not be able to say it later, so I just want to tell you I have this problem, and I just try to reach out to her for help. And from this point, I really wanted to heal, but I was really scared to heal. So I took a step into recovery. I stopped being a vegan. I started reintroducing the meat, but I didn't reintroduce the fat. I was eating more calories, just enough not to die, but not enough to be living a real life, you know.
Mm.
And so I've done the first step at this point, and then there were many events where I could make another step. And after, I would say, 1.5 years of a little bit of recovery, I just stay stuck and I didn't move anymore. And I was seeing my medical team, and I was not in danger. My life was not in danger, but something was missing. And in July 2021, I was in holiday with my son and with my nieces, and I was really cold. They were just playing in the sea and in the beach, and I was not able to swim with them. I'm a very good swimmer, but I was too cold to go into the water, and I was feeling very, very frustrating. Like, you know, the frustration at the level that you become angry at life.
Yeah.
And at this time I say, okay, react, go. Heal, you can do it, you can. And it's at this time that I decided that I will heal. And I started healing and I never stepped back.
That's awesome. And I know that you're a carnivore. How did you get into that from like being vegan and not eating anything? How did that even occur to you?
I noticed, step by step, when I reintroduced the meat and the eggs, I was feeling much better. And the medical team was always telling me that the protein were important to deal with repeating symptoms and everything. So I knew that the protein were key, and my body was feeling it, but I was very scared. And then when I wanted to heal, I was looking for a diet to be able to heal, and I looked for the ketogenic diet. I learned a lot of things. I read a lot about Georgia Ede, and I read that ketogenic diet could heal mental health. And it was really the thing I had to heal was a mental illness. So it was really the perfect diet for this. But being a ketogenic, in a ketogenic diet, you have to count your macros. And my whole life has been about counting my calories. So I didn't want to go from counting something to counting something else. And reading about ketogenic diet, I found out about carnivore, which was a ketogenic diet without the macros counting. So I jumped into this because it was not about counting. When you're addicted to something, I was addicted to the restriction, but I was acting to the addicted to the control. Yeah. And I needed to lose the control. And I think the carnivore diet is a good way to be able to lose this control.
And that's interesting, because some people might argue that you have not recovered because you have gone to carnivore, because that's a very strict diet. There are very few things that people can, there are very few things that you can eat on a carnivore diet. So what would you like to say to those people?
I would like to say that I've been struggling with food for 37 years, over 39. And I was thinking about food 23 hours per day. My day was just about food. I was waking up starving and getting my first food intake for the most I could, and just spending my time saying, okay, you will eat later, you can do later. And when finally I was allowing me, like, you starve the full day, you can eat a little bit. This was my life. Every single minute of my day was about food, not eating the food, or if I was eating some food, how many calories in it, how much fuel, how much weight will I gain if I eat this food, and always counting. I was doing, I'm an engineer. I love doing mathematics and everything, and I had Excel tables full of calories. I can tell you every single amount of calories per food. I know everything. I know all of them. So all this was my life, my daily life. And from one day to another, I'm spending 1 hour a day thinking about food, and I'm spending 23 hours of my day doing something else. I'm not awake at night because I can't sleep because I'm fed. When I wake up, if I'm hungry, I'm eating. And what I eat, I just go to my fridge and take some piece of meat, fat, and I'm eating, and that's it. And it's really simple. I don't lose time in my kitchen, never, but just air fry some beef, and that's it. And it's so much freedom not to be thinking about food. This is the food freedom, not thinking about it.
Yeah. What do you think would happen if you reintroduce some carbs into your life?
For me, I'm fearing the carbs as crazy. Why? Because each time I have the thought of reintroducing the carb, I have my restricting mind going up into my head. So this summer I was in Spain with my son, and he was enjoying a frozen yogurt with fruits on the top. And I was like, oh, this looks amazing. And I really wanted to eat this. Mostly not the yogurt, the frozen yogurt, but the fruits on the top. And it was watermelon. the main one. And I was like, oh, I would love to have watermelon. And then straight my brain say, okay, carbs and fat are not good together. So all the problem about fatty liver and everything is because of the combination of fat and sugar. So it's the worst you can have. So if you want to have the watermelon, just don't eat the butter for the day. Just eat the watermelon, but not the butter. And then I realized, okay, I'm thinking about eating 50 calories from watermelon and remove 1,500 calories from my diet, and I'm still like underweight. No way. So yeah, each time I'm thinking about carbs, then I'm thinking about restricting the fat. And I don't want any restriction in my life. If I'm hungry, I want to eat as much as I need.
Yeah.
So I think maybe in a decade I will be able, I don't know. I kind of say never, but
yeah. Is that something that you want to work on? I mean, obviously you can rewire your brain to train yourself to not think that way, but would it be worth it for you, or would you by choice just stick with carnivore anyway?
Now I think I'm feeling good with carnivore. It's easy in my life. I don't have any cravings. I don't really want to work on. I'm sharing my life now with a carnivore. And so I know that for him, it's not possible to reintroduce the carbs. So yeah, I'm hoping to have a lot of long years in front of me just together. So eating the same food is easier. My son is not carnivore, but my son won't be living with me forever. So
yeah.
So at the moment, I'm thinking about staying carnivore for the rest of my life.
Awesome. So a totally unconnected question. What plans do you have for the future? Because I know that people with eating disorders, they don't have futures.
Yeah, and it has been a time where I didn't have any plans for me in the future. And now, okay, I'm happy in my day-to-day life with my work. I'm back to work and I'm so glad. I'm back to be an engineer, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm working on my YouTube channel, and I'm hoping to be able to help people through it, because I think people with eating disorder and my lifestyle, my way of eating, my way of living can benefit about the channel. So I'm hoping to make it grow. I'm hoping to make a lot of travel. I love traveling, and I've been stuck in my house for years of illness, and I started traveling 2 years ago, and I'm hoping to be able to go over the world again. And yeah, I have a lot of projects. I just had last winter I made a breed with my dog, and I got puppies, and now they're all gone, and I'm hoping to do a new breed next year. And yeah, I want a simple life, but a happy life.
Yeah, it's good to hear. So do you have any advice for anyone with an eating disorder who might be listening to this, and how they can think or what they can do to start getting out of that?
I think the very, very important thing, and maybe the most important thing, is to define why you want to recover. When I started my journey, I wrote everything, why I was trying to heal, what I wanted for myself. I wrote a letter to my future self, and to explain what I was why I was doing it, and what I wanted for her. And it was really helpful. I went back to read this letter a lot of times. I'm still reading it sometimes. And I am writing, like, every couple of months, I'm writing a letter to my future self again, to keep going, to go forward all the time and never step back. I think this is really, really important.
That's awesome. So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
So they can look for my channel. It is called Beyond the Scale Through Healing. So they can find me there. They can answer any of my video. I will always answer the comments. And they can reach out to me on Instagram as well. And I'm known as Loli Carney on Instagram. So they can DM me and I would be really pleased to answer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah.
Something I would like to add, if there are someone that is listening that has someone in their relatives suffering from eating disorder, they can even reach out to me, because I know what it is to be the daughter of the sick daughter, you know, and I know how my parents were not able to help me. And now they learned a lot, and I can help the relative to be helpful for the people that are suffering.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.